I of course worked in different companies in different areas, and I think I was always I was always someone who wanted to start a company on my own. So when I decided to have a pet for myself, that's when I got to experience the industry and the gaps in the industry. That's how the idea of Floap came to me. But of course, it came from a very emotional background about how the pet industry should be better and how pets are not treated well by a lot of places, and there is not enough awareness. So it started on a very emotional note, but eventually made it more feasible for a business to be able to create an impact. So, I mean, not just for me, for any business, it's a continuous process. So it's very hard to uh, point out and say that this worked, this did not work, because there are so many things we try on a daily basis, right? So when you try multiple things, you never know what is working immediately, and sometimes it may not work out immediately, but it might work out after some time. So it's a continuous process. It's not necessary that as soon as you launch an initiative, it takes off within the next few days or the next few weeks. Sometimes launching a campaign might also make it hard, like might also be hard initially, but then over a period of a month or two, or maybe sometimes 6 months, it can pick up, right? So in my case, of course, the business model itself is a learning that when we started, we had a very clear business model in mind, that this is what we'll do. We'll be an aggregator and we'll just aggregate businesses and take bookings through the platform. But then eventually when we started, we realized that that's not a very viable business model at this point, and there is so much more to do before we become an aggregator, right? So I think our learning started right from day one of execution, and it continues to be a learning every single day. Also what happens is, when it's a new industry which is shaping up, I mean, I don't call pet industry a new one, but it's definitely an industry which is going through a lot of changes during this time. And whenever there is a big change that's happening in the industry, it only means that you cannot stick to one formula, because you are also a part of the change, right? So at some point, Floap is also a part of the change that's happening in the industry. And we are also contributing to it in some way. So there is no way you can really sit back and say that, okay, this is what I'll do and this is what I'll focus on, because there's a lot of things that we can explore on a day-to-day basis. In general, entrepreneurship is not easy. Definitely, we hear a lot of people say that, and it is also true that it's not very easy to be an entrepreneur, because when it's a change in everything. It's a change in your lifestyle, it's a change in your life overall, and it's a lot of compromises and sacrifices that you do in a lot of times, which is also, the funny thing is, even though you compromise a lot or sacrifice a lot, ultimately you're happy about it, you don't regret it. Right? So for me, I think the biggest changes will be when you are, a lot of times when you ask people, why you do you want to become an entrepreneur, and why do you want to be, I mean, I'm sure you also see people like that in your course, who are doing their MBA and who want to be an entrepreneur or a startup founder, because they don't want to do the 9 to 5 job, or because they don't want to have a boss, and they want to be their own boss. That's like a very common statement I hear from college students. But my suggestion always remains that, in an entrepreneur journey, there is no 9 to 5. It's probably 9 to 9. Like, you're on it 24/7. You don't have weekends, you don't have holidays, you don't have um, timings, because you never know like what is happening. Of course, you can manage it well, but then ultimately it's always on your mind, because you are responsible for your company, right? And not just your company, but you're actually responsible for an entire team that's working with you. And it's like you're getting into a maze which is not very clear. And moreover, when you're in a company, you at least know that end of the month you have a paycheck, you have uh, some security, you have some assurance of what is next in your career, what you should look up to 2 years from now or 5 years from now. Like you have a roadmap, which of course in the current times it's hard to have a career roadmap also, because of how fast companies change and how fast things change. But still you have a fair idea that okay, I've done my MBA now, next 3 years I'll work, if I like it I'll continue, otherwise I'll try a new field. Like you have something to look forward to. uh, but when you're an entrepreneur, you're only going by data that you've done research on, or you're going by learnings that you've made by yourself. And it's a journey which you are creating for yourself, right? A lot of times the next step in the journey is something that's created by ourselves. There's nobody who will probably come in. Of course people will guide, there are mentors, but ultimately it's you who should take up that step, right? So that itself, which is why I say it's a mindset difference and it's a lifestyle difference. um, and it's about getting used to being comfortable with the uncomfortable, if I can put it that way. You're always in a non-comfort zone, and over a period of time you should just get comfortable with that non-comfort zone. Like you should never expect to say that I want to settle down. Like there's nothing called settling down in a company. So that's been my biggest learning. And of course, people around you make a lot of difference. It's like there are a lot of qualities which you suddenly find is very important, which you have not given importance to before. Self-discipline, for example. We are always told by our parents that you should be disciplined, you should have a good lifestyle, but we never realize the importance of it till you actually become an entrepreneur, because then you have your own discipline that you want to create. And like I said, a lot of people say I don't want a boss, but then when you're an entrepreneur, you are your own boss. Like you have to control yourself. There's nobody else to say that finish this work or do this work. In this case, you will be telling yourself that I have to finish this. There's no second chance or second aspect to it. If you have an offline retail store, of course, you might say that I have stores in 10 different locations, or you might say that I have 10 stores or 10 franchise stores, however it may be. In an online business, the world is your place. Like you can even reach out to a different continent through your website. And that's the advantage. So the reason we say 55 cities is because we have a database of close to 8,000 pet businesses across 55 different cities, which includes the main cities, tier 2, tier 3, and so on. And of course, even a lot of upcoming regions. Uh, and that's the simple reason is because there's no limitation. I mean, if you see our platform, you will see that if you actually do an entire research, you'll see that we have a booking management system for service providers, and we have an order management system for sellers, and we also have vet consultations. And all of this is one platform and the server, right? Sitting in a different country, you can still register yourself as a service provider on our platform. And it's interesting to see people from regions like Singapore and all reach out to us. But it's only possible because they are able to see our platform from anywhere in the world, right? That's the advantage we have. And of course, answering a question about how did we expand our business, I think my answer remains the same. In a digital world, you don't really have to uh, set up a team in different locations. So it's just because we have service providers from 55 cities does not necessarily mean we should have offices in these or teams in these 55 cities. Like our entire team is in Bangalore and Delhi, and that's how we manage. It all happens on calls, emails, messages. Yeah, it's all digital. So, if you think about it, there are a lot of Facebook groups for pet related conversations. There are a lot of pet parent communities on Facebook, a lot of pet business communities on Facebook. But very often what happens is there is no, like, we get a lot of people to say that I don't have a Facebook account, so I didn't see your Facebook page, I didn't see your Instagram page. So, and we are also in a time when people are slowly realizing that social media is very time consuming, and it's not something that people want to uh, sort of spend a lot of time on, which is why you see a lot of people dropping out of these social media and actually deactivating their accounts. um, and when we see that, we feel that there should be a place which is entirely dedicated for pets and animals. Also because if, for example, on our community, you will see a lost dog section, right? Lost and found section. So if there is a dog lost in Bangalore, and if I put it up on Facebook, there are so many posts on Facebook that within the next 1 hour, my post will actually disappear because of the number of posts after me, right? So it's very hard to reach the right target audience through Facebook because of the amount of activity that happens there. So we created a community section only for like-minded people, which in our case are pet parents and pet businesses, to connect. And also with the ultimate hope we have is that people should come to Floap for any pet related conversations, questions. People have questions about what food can I give my dog, or what my dog has not been eating, what do I do. These are all areas where you need people in similar industry or similar interest levels to answer. That's where our community can make a difference. And of course, lost and found is also a section which is very important, because a lot of people lose their dogs, put up on WhatsApp, Facebook, across different platforms. But many a times we don't even get to know if they actually found their dog or not, right? Because one day, 2 day, we remember, of course, we love pets, so we share it in our networks. But nobody has the time, or nobody takes, I won't say nobody, but most people are busy with their lives, and we don't really get to know whether the dog was actually found or not. So how do we track it, right? So which is why we have the lost and found section, because even if we have a dog, like, we have had cases where the dog was lost, but we found the dog after 1 month. But then by the time you go back searching who had posted about this, is this the same dog, call them, find out, like, it takes a lot of time, and it's not possible in reality to do that every single time. So that is one. Second is, there are a lot of rescues which happen, and there are a lot of fund appeals which happen on Facebook. There are a lot of accident cases which we get to know. There are a lot of issues, let me put it as animal related issues, which we get to know on Facebook, which is not really tracked and monitored. So as a one stop platform for all kinds of animals and pet needs, we feel that we will be able to make a difference in building a very close knit community. The impact of COVID on the industry has been positive, I would say. You know, largely, we see a lot of people adopting pets now. We see a lot of people taking better care of their pets because we're all at home. We see a lot of people adopting uh, not just dogs, but actually cats and fish and hamsters and different kinds of pets, right? And importantly, people understand and realize the value that pets bring in their lives, particularly because during these stressful times, they are like they're very therapeutic in general, right? Just spending time with dogs can make you feel a lot more relaxed, and they keep you busy, most importantly. They're all the time seeking attention, they're all the time and even if not just a dog, even if it's a fish, actually, you still have that on your mind, that okay, I have to feed my fish and I have to check them, just sit and see them for some time, see their activities for some time. That itself can be very relieving. um, so in that sense, it works well, and which is why I feel like the whole COVID-19 situation has been very positive, in the sense that people realize the importance. and we also get to know how much people actually care about their pets. And importantly, we were very busy with our lives before COVID. um, Either you're all the time working, or you are traveling, or you come home late, you have weekend plans, like life is very busy, so you don't really get to spend enough time with pets to realize what they are and how they are. But now it's a situation where you can't step out even if you want to, so you end up spending a lot of time with them, and you kind of feel that attachment with them. uh, so I think it's a trend changer. This whole COVID-19 thing has changed people's mindset about having a pet and actually how they maintain them. About success mantra, probably not, because my opinion about success itself is very different, and I tell this in most conversations I have, that success is very subjective. For me, what is success versus for you, what is success versus someone else, it's very different. And there's nothing called success, if you ask me. It's very, very subjective. It's like when we were in school, for us, getting first rank was considered success, or getting 90% was considered success. But looking back, you're like, okay, that wasn't a big thing. I mean, it's just 90%, and then we move on. So if we think about it, every stage of our life we have a different um, milestone for success. We are made to believe that if you achieve XYZ, you're successful, which is unfortunately not true. Right? So I personally wouldn't want to give a success mantra, because in my mind I feel like I can't call myself successful as yet, because because there's a long way to go. And to the purpose, it's not, I don't call myself successful, not because of my business, or not because of what I'm doing today, but it's just because I have a purpose in my life, and my purpose is to be able to cater to as many pets and pet parents as possible, um, and impact the lives of pets, and contribute to the pet industry in any way possible. And that is my purpose, right? My purpose is to take care of animals, indirectly, directly, however. So given that purpose, I feel like there's a long way to go. So which is why I don't consider myself successful enough. But yes, definitely, one needs to know what is their definition of success and what makes them happy. In my mind, the ones who know what their purpose in life is and what they want to be as human, that itself is good enough to call themselves successful. Like in my mind, you may earn $1 million, $1 billion, but ultimately, if you're not serving your purpose of life, and if you are not happy as an individual, then that's not success, right? um, so that's my way of looking at it. uh, but my advice for entrepreneurs, of course, I want to say that, entrepreneurship, like I already said in this conversation, it's a lifestyle. Uh, it's it's a it's a lifestyle change, and it's not just about the titles. It's not just about calling ourselves founder of so and so, CEO of so and so, or co-founder of so and so. It's not just about that. These are just titles which can be there today, and you may want to let go tomorrow. But every entrepreneur should have a purpose, and the ones with a purpose are the ones who will actually, end of the day, when you go back to bed, you look back and think, why am I doing this? What is my purpose? Right? And unless you have a purpose, there's no way you'll be able to move forward, because the amount of challenges you face as an entrepreneur should be always less than the bigger purpose you're looking at, right? So this should be lower than the purpose. Only then will you look up and say that, okay, I need to get to my purpose. But the moment the purpose is not clear, you will start to wonder about, why am I doing this? Why can't I just go back to a job and earn good salary, and be happy and travel and take my trips, be relaxed? Um, so every time you'll end up having this question, and that does not give you enough motivation, that does not give you enough perseverance to actually do what you started your company for, right? So, and that is one thing. The second advice I want to give is, it's not necessary that everybody should become an entrepreneur. And it's important for us to know that you will gain success not by just starting a company. You can be a great success even in a large company, even by contributing to a large company or another startup. And yeah, so success does not necessarily come only when you're a founder, CEO, or a founder, co-founder. And there's absolutely no age to start something. uh, a lot of times we think that, oh, I'm young so I can start, and a lot of times we get to see that I'm very young, I need some experience before I start. In all of these cases, age is just a number. I mean, sometimes I see young kids who are fresh out of college being so much more talented than what I consider myself. uh, right? And in that case, I feel like age is just another number, and that does not define whether you can start a company or not. And at the same time, even if you work for 15, 20 years, you can still start a company, right? It's like, my favorite way of saying it is, when you're ready to get married, when you're ready to have kids. The same way, when you're ready to start a company. And till you get to that point, you should not dive into it. um, Give it its own time and see when you're prepared, and then start off.